I believe he is here tonight. I'd like to invite Stephen Root, who played Daddy Mac. And then finally, I'd like to invite Stephen Macdissi, who played Wally.
Excellent. So thank you all so much for being here. I just want to start off with a couple quick questions for you, and then we'll open it up to the audience as well. Alan, I'd love to start with you and just sort of talk a little bit about this is a very personal story for you. Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration, how much of this is sort of based on family or a background of people that you know?
Well, certainly the environment and the tone is very much similar. I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, and so that's very similar. I wouldn't say that any of the family members were actually based on actual family members of my own, but there are bits and pieces in there. For me, the generation in the movie came from two things. One is I was involved in a horrible car accident when I was 13 years old and my sister was killed. And it is just this traumatic thing that you just live with and you spend your whole life trying to deal with. And you end up compartmentalizing it and trying to deal with it through different ways. And then the other part was when I came out of the closet to my mom, 20 years later, after that car accident. She told me about a family member of mine who was already dead, who she thought was that way too. And then she also told me about his close friendship with a boy from his hometown. They were both from Asheville, North Carolina. And they were both working in the CCC camps in the 1930s in North Georgia. And that his friend drowned. And that she said he was a real good friend of his. And I started out as a playwright. I come from the South. I have an inner Tennessee Williams. And it just sort of, over the years, those two experiences of mine sort of melded together and became this movie.
And was it always intended to be a period piece set in the 70s, or was it ever?
Yeah, because for me it would have been hard to set it now, because I mean, even with Daddy Mac not accepting his son would be like, whatever, I don't care.
Right.
Because there's so much out there available on the internet and the world for gay men and women coming of age today. So it seemed like it needed to be set in that time.
Right. And I'd love to talk a little bit about the actors and the casting process and sort of how you went to find these great folks and sort of the process for them in terms of working with you and developing their characters.
Okay. I had a lovely, I submitted the script to Paul, and he read it, and we had a lovely conversation, and I could just tell, speaking to him, he shared a lot of stuff of his own past that made the script speak to him, and I did the same. And I could just tell that he had exactly the right combination of intelligence and sensitivity and humor, and that he got it. He got exactly what I would be trying to do. And you can share your side of that conversation if you want, or...
Yeah. Well, when I was 16, I lost my brother. He was 8 years old, he died, and it destroyed my family. Fast forward, at the age of 63, my father came out to me, which was a relief and no surprise at all. And he then had an amazing renaissance and a 15-year relationship with a man. And then that man died, his partner. And then my father went back into the closet because he was convinced he was a Catholic and he was convinced he wasn't going to be able to see my brother. And I thought, what a sad, dreadful tragedy. And it was a really, for me, it was an opportunity to talk about identity and shame and have a happy ending that isn't always the case in real life.
Yeah, it was important for me to make a movie about a gay couple where they ended up together and nobody died, and so they were happy. Because those are rare.
Sorry, please.
And then Sophia, I saw on Sharp Objects, playing young Amy Adams. And I went, who is that girl? She really holds the camera and she's fascinating and I want to watch her. And I looked her up on IMDb and saw that she was exactly the right age. At the time she was 16, which fell perfectly between Beth's ages of 14 and 18. And I saw that she had been in It, and I watched It and went, oh, okay, well, she can carry a movie, so let's see if we can get her. And I was very fortunate throughout the whole casting process because pretty much everybody I asked to be in the movie said yes, which was great. Stephen, I just called your agent, and we had worked together on True Blood.
Right, and being a gay vampire on True Blood, obviously he cast me.
Absolutely. But I think Stephen is such a phenomenal actor, and I knew that it would require somebody of immense skill to play this role and still keep him sympathetic, which is something that I think you did really,
Thank you, sir.
really beautifully.
For me, it was an exploratory time because my dad was not unlike that in that way, and it was kind of cathartic to do it, and I appreciate you letting me come play.
Well, I appreciate you coming to play, absolutely. And then Peter is my producing partner, and I've worked with him for years, both as a producer and as an actor, and I just knew that this would be a great change for him in the types of roles that he's been playing, to play somebody with such a big heart and who is so fearless. And so he was always Wally.
Yeah, brings a great energy to the film, so fantastic. Yeah. So I could keep going, but I'm not. I want to turn it over to the audience for questions, and I see you first right away.
So at the end, great job by the way, at the end of the movie it was a very powerful scene where the mom was sitting in Daddy Mac's chair. Was that something that was that what the original plan was? Or did that change?
And let me just quickly repeat it, it's hard to hear in here. The question's about the very end when the mother is sitting in the father's chair. Was that something deliberate or something you worked out through the process?
That was something that we worked out through rehearsal. My original plan was to have her come down the stairs as Frank entered the room, but I believe it was our DP, Khalid Motaseb, and Margot, who also felt that it would be symbolically important for her to have assumed the seat of power that had been vacated by Daddy Mac. So it came about in the rehearsal process.
Great.
I originally had an idea, and other people had ideas in rehearsal that were so much better than mine, which is often the case.
Next question. Yes, please. Pretty loud, but the question is about sort of the tension when they're driving down, and something about Easy Rider, if there was an influence there, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, we wanted to play with before we revealed that it was Wally who was following Frank and Beth, we wanted there to be a little bit of tension, but we found that leaning into that too much felt melodramatic. But I definitely wanted there to be a sense of tension, especially when the two cars stopped and when Frank was walking back to Wally's rented car. I didn't specifically think of Easy Rider, but that it makes perfect sense that that's what you would think of.
Great. Next question? Here. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's go up there.
I'd love to hear Sophia talk about how she related to her character.
That's very loud. Let's go again.
Okay. Well, let's see. Well, I really loved Beth. I really loved her relationship with Uncle Frank because she had such, she looked up to him so much and looked at him as a mentor figure and someone she wants to be when she grows up. and she just kind of had this glorified vision of him, and to later on kind of see the true side of him and get to know him for who he really is was just so beautiful. And I honestly wish I had someone like that. I do look up to my family. I look up to my mom a lot because she's with me all the time. And I really get to know her. I think before acting, really fully acting, I did know her, and of course she's my mom. But she comes with me, and she goes with me to everywhere I go, and she was with me when I shot this, and I really got to know her. I mean, now I really am, I think, closer to her than ever before if I have ever acted. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yes? And I think we had another question at the very top. Yes? Yeah, so the question about sound design and how wonderful it
Yeah,
is.
sound design was important because sound design is very useful in establishing a sense of place and establishing a sense of rhythm. And we worked with some great sound people. Ken Sparling was our sound mixer. I think he might even be here tonight. Doing an amazing job. And we talked a lot about the sound environment and how we would use that in establishing a sense of place and mood, and I personally think that I think Ken, you did an amazing job. So hats off to you.
Yeah, great. And we have time for one last question. I'm going to go with you in the red hat. Yeah. Yeah, if you can talk about your process in terms of getting the takes that you want. Do you do a lot of them? Do you just one takes?
A lot of it,
Just like one take, we were just on.
the whole movie was one take. Of course, a lot of it depends on the mechanics of the shot and how it's set up, and if you can just keep going and run a series, I'm always a big fan of that, because I think people relax into it and they get more spontaneous, and especially when you're doing car work and you're towing a car. I'm just sitting in the truck that's pulling in saying, okay, again, back to the beginning, reset, back to the beginning. And I try to do that as much as possible in other scenes as well. Partially because I feel like it's really helpful in keeping spontaneity alive and keeping the performances fresh and not too thought out. And partially because I'm usually under the gun because I have, so few hours to shoot so many pages. So it's a mixture of the two, but it is a way that I like to work, and I like to shoot that way.
Great. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap up, but I want to thank you, Alan, so much for bringing us.
Thank you.